Folks, if you're just joining us, very rare in one's life does one get to talk to a real hero. I have that honor and pleasure today. I am speaking with none other than Lieutenant General Roméo Dallaire. Now, everybody knows that name that's listening right now. Monsieur Dallaire, of course, was the author of Shake Hands with the Devil. He witnessed evil up close and very personal. And don't make any mistakes, folks. Evil does exist, and unfortunately, it can exist in human beings. As much as we are capable of glorious things, human beings are also capable of the inhumane. He's got a new book out called They Fight Like Soldiers, They Die Like Children. We're going to be talking about that right now. Child soldiers. Mr. Dallaire, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your service to this country and to the world. I also want to welcome you to the show. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Yeah, thank you, and for putting all that on my shoulders too.
No pressure, no stress, sir. I just want to say I admire you profoundly. I thank you for coming on the show, sir, because you are a wonderful role model for my audience, which is university students right across the country, as this show is syndicated right across the country through all the university radio stations.
Very good.
Usually I end the show by asking my guest to imagine themselves at a podium with all the university students in the country from coast to coast to coast at their feet. Usually I end the show with that, and then I ask the guest to say something to them. But because your book is so profound, especially the last chapter, which is a call to action for the students, I'm going to start off the show with that, because this is the thing I want to get across to the students. So I'm going to ask you, what would you say to the students of Canada?
Well, get engaged, drop all those artificial borders that we've created in these nation states around the globe. Maximize the technology of communications that's there to be able to talk, Skype, communicate with your peers around the world who are in much more difficult scenarios than what you're in. And through that, find innovative ideas to go out there and get your boots dirty. I think that it should be a rite of passage from college to go and spend weeks at least in a developing country where you can see and smell and look and touch and hear what's happening to 80% of humanity, and come back and let that be an influence for you as you work your professions. And that's why I created for my research on child soldiers, which has now moved to Dalhousie from when I had it at Harvard. And I created Zero Force, and it's on zeroforce.org. And it is, I want 2.5 million youths being activists to change public opinion and policy, and get out there and move child soldiers to the agenda and eradicate the use of your peers as instruments of war. That's the short version.
Folks, we're speaking with Lieutenant General Roméo Dallaire. We're talking about his new book, They Fight Like Soldiers, They Die Like Children, www.brenthollandshow.com. Just click on the book cover. As always, folks, we'll take you right to a place online where you can order the book from the comfort of your own home. Monsieur Dallaire, there's a few things in the book I'd like to discuss because it is a profound book. Child soldiers. I always think of child soldiers automatically the fall of the Third Reich, Berlin, when all these young kids were brought up, 10-year-old kids, to fight the Soviets that were invading the city. How do those children differ from the child soldiers we look at today, and how are the commonalities in those two?
Well, the recruitment thereof was forcible or forcibly. They were also in a situation where the country was totally at war, and a dictatorship that was imposing upon them to fight to defend their homeland from a oppressor that was sort of inculcated in them. And it was in a classic war where they were fighting other soldiers. They were not there killing and slaughtering children and families and raping and pillaging. They were there fighting another professional or classic army. Now, just a small angle on that. If, in the end, Hitler was using the children of the nation, not only was he wiping out the whole adult population through that war, but he was using children as his last stand. Extrapolate that to the modern era, where what is the weapon that people might use as the last stand? It could be nuclear. And so, would we ever want to use nuclear as our last stand? However, we were in World War II prepared to use kids. Why is it, if we would abhor using nuclear so bad, that we now see in about 30 countries use children, 9, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, who are the primary weapon of war? With an AK-47 that a 10-year-old can operate, they are by the hundreds of thousands, of which 40% are girls, are used in these conflicts that keep on going, and we don't have anybody intervening in a deliberate way to stop their use. Yes, demobilizing and rehabilitating and reintegrating, but my work is I want to stop their use. I want to make them ineffective. I want to stop the recruitment of these kids.
You talk about them as being a very cheap source, a strategic part of what I would call gangs. And because I call them gangs, I'm just wondering, you know, our police forces right here in major urban areas have to deal with child gangs all the time. Mm-hmm. Are there templates we can draw from our police forces here and perhaps tweak them and integrate them to combat child soldiers?
Well, in fact, it's interesting you raised that, because I was asked by an NGO to go down to Rio and study the use of child soldier children in the drug wars in the favelas, in the slums. And they kill about 2,000 a year in those slums of kids who are, in fact, the operators of the drugs that the middle and upper classes are using. And it is integrated into the society of survival in those massive slum areas. And the similarities are extraordinary. We've also been looking at Colombia and how they've been using children in that drug war. And so in the research part, which we've been doing, in order to find new ways to stop the kids being used by adults, we have police forces and militaries, of course, in the field, but we also looked at the research that's been done on gang wars in Europe and in North America, and we've been in the field, in fact, in South America, and looking at why they join, what are the parameters, and how are police operating under the new concept of intelligence-based policing, of getting into these organizations and trying to prevent the recruitment of others in them. So yeah, part of our research is using that. I've got the police from Halifax. I've got also the Calgary police involved with my research. Folks, we're speaking with a real true hero today, Lieutenant General Roméo Dallaire. Of course, he was the author of his first book, Shake Hands with the Devil, his true story of his encounter in Rwanda, and we all know that Monsieur Dallaire stood in the face of evil and conquered evil, I would argue. They fight like soldiers, they die like children, is his new book, www.brenthollandshow.com. I just want to read something to you folks, a quote from the book. The new book, of course. Don't tell me you're not being heard. And this is him addressing the students of the world. It's that you're not speaking. You may roll out to the streets of Toronto to protest the G20 meetings or travel to Copenhagen to voice your opinion on the climate change conference, but overall your age group is letting political leaders off easily because you aren't forcing them to craft a vision of how we're going to move the country forward. Can we talk about that, sir? Empowering the youth of today to get out there and just plainly vote. Well, it is, and the argument is that those under 30 hold the balance of power in this country. And I'm not just saying that they're holding some votes. I'm saying they hold the balance of power because they represent about 35% of the voting population, and on average about 15% of them vote. And so those votes have never been counted. And if they ever coalesced behind a leader or a cause or created their own party and decided to run, they could change the face of politics in this country in one election. And so the balance of power is in their hands. They're not exercising it, but of course they're not necessarily being led by a vision, and it surprises me that with all that technological social communications that's going on now, that they are not coalescing more to engage themselves in influencing significantly the electoral process or simply public opinion and policy. We've seen some of that with the Obama election. We even saw some of that with the recent mayoral election in Calgary. They mastered the technology and they have the numbers. They can, in fact, change. And they can get engaged in things far beyond their border, because I believe that the youth are not constrained like we were with this concept that the world is so huge and humanity is so vast. To them, because of that technology, they see the world as a very small place and very accessible, and they can talk to somebody in Rio like they can Skype somebody in Kinshasa, and so that makes for a pretty small world.
It sure does. Folks, we're speaking with Lieutenant General Roméo Dallaire today. We're talking about child soldiers, in specific his new book, They Fight Like Soldiers, They Die Like Children, www.brenthollandshow.com. Just click on that book cover. As always, we'll take you to a place online where you can order the book from the comfort of your own home. I want to talk to you about the responsibility to protect, R2P. Going back to the 90s, I had the distinct pleasure of meeting Lloyd Axworthy, and just recently in September I was down in New York and I interviewed Jody Williams. Jody Williams won the Nobel.
Was Lloyd Axworthy's competition for that same?
I know she was, yeah, and she speaks very highly of Canada, of course. This is where Canada, you see, folks, can take the leadership role in bringing things together, because Mr. Axworthy, of course, took a leadership role there, and now she didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize, but a good friend of his did. The point I'm trying to make is Canada has a role to play, and a serious role, a leadership role. Can we talk about the responsibility to protect, sir, something that you are championing right now?
The responsibility to protect, essentially, when Paul Martin, at the time Prime Minister in 2005, got the General Assembly of the UN to accept it as a concept in the world, the responsibility to protect essentially prevented or changed the concept of sovereignty from an absolute to something that will not protect those leaders who massively abuse the human rights of their people. We have, through that concept, said that if such a thing happens, we, the international community, through the UN, have the responsibility to go in and protect those people who are being massively abused. And now there's a whole series of stages to that, and that's why I'm right now part of the team that's working with the Secretary General on the genocide prevention and responsibility to protect, with Desmond Tutu and Garth Evans, one of the authors. And what that concept has done is made people concerned about either people going in too soon or in fact, big countries being dragged into things they don't want to. And so we're trying to operationalize it now. And my research at Concordia with the Montreal Center for Genocide Studies, we did an analysis of Canada and U.S., Kosovo, and Rwanda. Why did we go to Kosovo, and why did we not go to Rwanda? And we're studying the will to intervene. That is now the political will behind the responsibility to protect, to actually want to do it, to have the courage to do it, to take the risks. And that is not an insignificant factor in political decisions, because it means lives both of your own people, but of course those who are being affected. And that is a dimension in which I hope the youth will catch on, because it is fundamentally based on human rights, that all humans are equal, and that the countries with power have got to feel that responsibility beyond their borders.
Do you think Canada is doing something similar to that right now in Afghanistan?
No, it's not doing responsibility to protect, because we went in there under the auspices of a nation state and a leader of a nation state asking the UN to help him establish an atmosphere of security. And he, although it was flawed as an election, he was still recognized as having been democratically elected. So it is more in support of a nation state, a nascent nation state that's trying to establish democracy, rule of law, good governance, gender equality, human rights.
I just wanted to clarify that because I had Captain Ray Weiss on the show. He was a surgeon right in the front lines of Afghanistan. He's written a book called A Line in the Sand. Actually, you met him when you were in Laurentian. That show is on the www.Brent show, too. I know you've got to run, so I'm just going to wrap up, but I'd like to talk about something that you put out as a challenge and something I want to extend to the youth of today, and that is do a fundraiser, folks. And the fundraiser is to get a computer that runs off of solar energy. You can put that in Afghanistan, you can put that in Kosovo, you can put that in Africa, anywhere, and people can connect. Can you talk about that initiative just briefly, and then we'll wrap up, sir?
Yeah, well, and as I've advanced with the child soldier, the idea of Zero Forest, and you can find that on zeroforest.org, of getting engaged and getting your boots dirty overseas, and also influencing your friends to get involved in that. Another way, or one of the solutions of that, is to get a few $1,000s together, get a computer, solar panel with a satellite link, which are now fairly cheap, and choose a school anywhere or an institution of education anywhere in the developing world, and go there, set it up, and then Skype those peers of yours and talk to them and see what they've got, and let them see what you've got, and exchange and establish the human link with your peers. They are just as human as you are, and they have just as much right to not only survive, but hopefully to thrive. And we can do something about it.
Absolutely. Folks, we've been speaking with Lieutenant General Roméo Dallaire, and I want to tell you it has been my great pleasure. If you're listening right now, I just saw Monsieur Dallaire at Laurentian University in Sudbury. He gave a lecture, and it was electrifying. If you can, invite Monsieur Dallaire to your university to give that same lecture. You will come away feeling so empowered, and you could change the world. I want to thank you, sir, for your continued service. And I want to invite you back. I would love to talk to you some more about Rwanda. I had Joseph Sarabanzi on the show as well.
Oh, yes.
The problems with Rwanda, some of them still remain.
Yeah, the human rights side, so on, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Whenever you have a chance, all the best to you. Merry Christmas, and God bless you.
And the same to you and your listeners. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye now.
Righto. Bye-bye.
You're listening to The Brent Holland Show. For more information on today's guests, as well as free podcasts and downloads, please go to the www.brenthollandshow.com website, www.brenthollandshow.com.
He's something else, isn't he, folks? Lieutenant General Roméo Dallaire. If you can, get Mr. Dallaire, Monsieur Dallaire, I call him, at your university to give a lecture. I alluded to that during the conversation. I had met Monsieur Dallaire twice, actually, at a lecture he gave, I think it was going back to 2003, in Montreal when I was at Concordia University, and again, just recently at Laurentian University. Some news, folks. I have moved from Sudbury, and I'm now living in Kingston, Ontario. That's why there hasn't been a show in several weeks, because we are still living out of boxes. And I am recording this actually with a headset and on my laptop, surrounded by boxes and everything. It is going to be one exciting year for the Brent Holland Show. Season 2, folks, and we're starting it off, like I said, with Monsieur Dallaire. Lots and lots of great guests coming up. I will be going to Ottawa January 11th to record a conversation with our new Governor General, David Johnston. Too soon to tell you who I am trying to get because I hate to drop names just in case they can't come on the show. One of the things I'm asking for is some help now with this show. This show has been an effort of a staff of one, just me. And as always, this show has zero funding. I need some help, folks. I'm looking for people to help book guests. I'm looking for people to help administer the show. I'm looking for people to help edit the show, technicians, etc., etc. Email me, BrentHollandShow@gmail.com, BrentHollandShow@gmail.com. I want to make this show Canada's version of Democracy Now! I want it in every university radio station from coast to coast to coast in Canada, but with a profound difference. I want to inspire our listeners from coast to coast to coast. I just don't want to come out and grumble about what's wrong with the world. I want to tell people what's right with the world by interviewing folks like Roméo Dallaire. The Brent Holland Show, www.brenthollandshow.com. I want to thank you all for listening, as always. Any emails you want to send me, I will respond to them. Just give me a chance to get through some more boxes. Thanks once again for listening. See you next time.